Egmere? Gendry. Yara. Hello. New person. New
Where's
person.
John?
Oh.
He is our prisoner. This is our city now.
If you look outside the walls of your city, you'll find thousands of Northmen who will explain to you why harming Jon Snow is not in your interest.
And you will find thousands of Unsullied who believe that it is.
I swore to follow Daenerys Targaryen.
You swore to follow a tyrant.
She freed us from a tyrant. Cersei is gone because of her, and Jon Snow put a knife in her heart. Let the Unsullied give him what he deserves.
Say another word about killing my brother and I'll cut your throat.
Friends, please. Thousands of you, thousands of
Davos
them.
should be king.
You know how it ends.
He's great.
We need to find a better way.
We do not need payment. We need justice.
It's not for you to decide.
You are not here to speak!
Well,
Everyone has heard enough words from you.
It's his trial. He should be allowed to speak at his own trial.
And no one's any better for it. Jon committed his crime here. His fate is for our king to decide. Or our queen.
We don't have a king or queen.
You're the most powerful people in Westeros. Choose one.
Davos. I vote Davos. Don't look at him.
Make your choice then.
Okay. Really? It is Edmure! Hi! Okay. No, you can't be king. You're useless.
My lords and ladies, I suppose this is the most important moment of our lives. What we decide today will reverberate through the annals of history. I stand before you as one of the senior lords in the country.
Are you?
A veteran of 2 wars. And I like to think my experience has led to some small skill in statecraft.
I can't even remember, like...
Please sit.
No! Sam! No, Sam shouldn't be king. No, Davos should be king. Sit down!
I've had nothing to do but think these past few weeks.
Why are we asking him? He's the prisoner, and yet he gets to decide.
About the mistakes we've made.
Say Jon Snow. I mean, Jon Snow should be. He is now the person with the biggest claim.
What unites people?
He already was.
Armies.
He killed one person. Wow. How many did Daenerys kill? And she was still going to be queen. Why is Tyrion getting to decide?
Who better to lead us into the future?
Davos.
Bran has no interest in ruling, and he can't father children.
Good. Sons of kings can be cruel and stupid, as you well know. His will never torment us. From now on, rulers will not be born. They will be chosen. On this spot are the lords and ladies of Westeros, to serve the realm. I know you don't want it. I know you don't care about power. But I ask you now, if we choose you, will you wear the crown?
Why do you think I came all this way?
Cheat.
The Brandon of House Stark. I say aye.
You're the prisoner! How is it that he has just gotten to decide who is going to be king? How did that just happen? Oh my goodness. What happened to you?
Unsullied would start a war. Letting you walk free would start a war. So our new king has chosen to send you to the Night's Watch.
What Night's Watch?
Still Night's Watch.
Yeah, right?
The world will always need a home for bastards and broken men.
He's not a bastard. Oh. Oh, Brian. There is still a Night's Watch. 1 for Rangers returning. They should end it on 2 enemies. 3 White Walkers. Back again. I mean, he literally came here. Hey! Thought you were north. He literally came here, season 1. Like, this is what he wanted to do with his life. He didn't want a wife. He didn't want children. He wanted to serve the realm as a member of the Night's Watch, and he wanted to be a ranger. So, you know, this is what he was supposed to be doing, or what he expected to be doing his whole life anyway. Is he like already Lord Commander? Oh, I'm so happy. Oh, Jesus. Is he taking them home? I think they know their way. Is he gonna be a wildling? Ygritte should still be alive. She was good for Jon. She was better than Daenerys. For Jon, anyway. So, there we go. That was the final episode of Game of Thrones. It obviously wasn't action-packed. Like, there wasn't really fighting or anything like that. They can't really do that. Like, we had episode 3 and episode 5, both like huge, humongous battles. And with this being the last Game of Thrones episode, it can't be explosive. It can't have any more twists, really. It can have twists that, like, don't need to be explained. For example, Arya going off to whatever is west of Westeros. Like, we don't know what she's going to find over there. We probably will never know, but it's one of those things where we don't have to know. Like that story doesn't need to continue. I mean, it would be great if it did continue, you know, her adventures over there. That would obviously be an interesting thing, but it doesn't have to continue. It's a new adventure for her, but it's one that it doesn't need to continue, and it's okay to leave that open-ended. Same with Sansa being the Queen of the North. Like, she's going to rule, and you know, that's going to be that. Same with Bran being king. Obviously, with kings and queens in Westeros, probably not Cersei, and probably wouldn't have been Daenerys, because they are both clever. They're not great, but they're clever. But the small council of all the kings have always been very clever. They haven't necessarily been good people. You know, Littlefinger was on the council. Obviously, Tywin Lannister was the hand of the king at one point. But they definitely know, especially in terms of Joffrey being king and Tommen being king, they definitely know how the world works, how politics work, a lot more than Joffrey and Tommen ever did, and probably a lot more than Bran will do. Except with this council, you know, we have Bronn, who is a little bit of a shit. We have Tyrion, who is a little bit of a shit. But we have Davos and Brienne, who are very noble and very loyal and very good people. Yes, Davos was a smuggler, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, they are a very good council for Bran. And even though Bran, like, doesn't want to be king, doesn't even want to be like Lord of Winterfell, he doesn't want to rule. He's there to be the face of it. He's there to be the king, the face of it. But really, he knows and he understands that the council will keep everything in order. So, and then obviously Jon, that ending again was obviously like not entirely 100% sure on what was going on there. So he was sent to the Wall to be a member of the Night's Watch. He won't take a wife, he won't have children, blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah, again, you know, since season 1, that was his choice to go to the Night's Watch. And then he went off with the Wildlings. Now, the Wildlings know how to get home. Tormund knows how to get them home. They didn't need an escort in Jon, per se. So was Jon basically abandoning the Wall and going off to be... Because obviously, yes, when you abandon the Night's Watch, you are committing treason and you will be killed for it, if you get caught. If you go and live with the Wildlings, like Mance Rayder did, you won't get caught. I mean, obviously Mance did, but he came back to the Wall. If Jon just goes with the Wildlings and never goes back to the Wall, the Night's Watch are not going to venture out. You know, the Wildlings are beyond the Wall. They're free. So the Night's Watch will just leave them alone, as they always have done. They've never really started things with them. The Wildlings are the ones that kind of started things with the Night's Watch, because they wanted, only because the White Walkers were there and they wanted to get on the other side of the Wall. Now that the White Walkers aren't a threat anymore, I think the Wildlings actually enjoy living on that side of the Wall and enjoy the freedom and not having all the politics and the kings and queens and everything. So I think and hope, obviously there is, unless obviously the creators come out and say, yes, Jon has abandoned the Night's Watch and he's gone to live with the Wildlings. Unless they specifically say that, that ending is up for interpretation. It's like he's still wearing his Night's Watch colours. So it's like, is he just escorting them back and then he'll go back to the Wall? Or is he abandoning the Wall and going off with the Wildlings? I like to think that he's abandoning the Wall and going off with the Wildlings. Because screw the judgment that was put upon him. Like, again, yes, he killed Daenerys. Yes, it was wrong to kill a person, but Daenerys had just killed Cersei. So what Jon did is, because Daenerys just became the queen there and then, oh, okay, Jon committed regicide, which is the killing of a king or a queen. which is, you know, it's treason, it's punishable by death, blah, 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 blah. Okay, fine, I get it. Daenerys also committed regicide. Cersei was still queen. Yes, they surrendered, but Cersei was the queen at that moment in time. Not only did Daenerys kill her, she killed thousands upon thousands of innocent people in King's Landing. So I get it from everybody's perspective. I get it from Daenerys' perspective. This is what she's wanted all her life. She finally gets it. Yes, she had a moment of madness and she snapped. Unfortunately, that moment of madness where she snapped is unforgivable because she killed thousands and thousands of innocent people. If she literally just took down Cersei, then literally there would be nothing. She would be queen and everybody would love her. Unfortunately, that moment of madness just got to her head a little bit too much. Like I think I mentioned in the last episode, I have personally seen the descent into madness of Daenerys, starting from like the season 6 finale when she started her journey across the sea back into Westeros, and then during season 7, very subtle, but it was there and I could see it. Obviously, the creators have said, like, oh, you know, there's foreshadowing, you know, she was always destined for this. Not necessarily always destined for this. Yes, her father was the Mad King, and yes, her older brother wasn't so bad, Rhaegar. But Viserys was obviously a shit. He wasn't very scary or anything like the Mad King was. He was just a shit, but he was still a bad person. Daenerys obviously started off as this innocent girl who, you know, she was never going to be queen because her older brother had the claim, so she never, even at that point in season 1, thought that she was going to be queen. It was only obviously after her brother died and then she started to get this taste for it. So yeah, maybe from season 1, from when Viserys died and she didn't really crack any emotion at that point, maybe then we should have seen it coming. But this never had to be her destiny. She could have broken the wheel. She could have been not the one Targaryen, because there have always been good Targaryens. Jon's a Targaryen, he's good. Yes, he's half Targaryen, half Stark, so he's got a clash, but whatever, he's still a Targaryen. Yes, there have been other Targaryens that have been good. But most of the time, the Targaryens are looked at as these mad dragon riders. And yes, everyone obviously expected it of Daenerys. And obviously everyone who was in Westeros at the time of her being across the sea, they didn't know her personally. They didn't know, you know, they never came face to face with her, so they didn't know how she was acting or anything like that. So they just assumed that she was going to be this tyrant. Yes, she turned out to sort of be that in the end, but they didn't know that. So yeah, it was the right thing to do. It was the hardest thing to do, but sometimes the hardest thing to do is the right thing to do. And getting rid of Daenerys, getting rid of the threat, the newest and biggest threat to Westeros is what needed to happen. Luckily, Drogon didn't torch Jon to death. Luckily, he flew away. I guess that's sort of like a more of a writing thing than a plot thing, because hey, maybe, you know, if this was really occurring, maybe Drogon, you know, sees his actual, you know, his mother dead, maybe he would have gone on another rampage. That could have obviously happened, but I think for writing, he scoops up Dany's body and flies away with her, never to be seen again, because, you know, a big fat dragon flies away. Okay, so he's not really a threat anymore, which is good. So yeah, that was Game of Thrones. That was the final episode of Game of Thrones. Yeah, that was a lot to take in. I am currently in my spare time rewatching Game of Thrones from the beginning. I'm currently on season 4, in the middle of season 4. So obviously I will be watching everything again just for myself, just to really get into it and really listen to all the details. There are a few things that I've, you know, since knowing season 8 and since watching season 8, there are a few things that I've picked up on in very, very early seasons that are like, oh yeah, that's relating to that. So it's good to go back and look out for little details. But again, I'm doing that in my own time. That you don't need to know that. But yeah, that was the final episode of Game of Thrones. It has been, as I said at the beginning, it has been a wild journey, and I hope you enjoyed my reactions to this season, to this series. And I will see you in the next video, which is probably going to be the Walking Dead Telltale game, the final season, because that's finished, that's done, and I haven't played it since like episode 2, is it? Can't even remember. So if you enjoy that series, then I'll be back with that very shortly. That will also be another, you know, another final thing to wrap up. So yes, hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you next time. Bye.